Johan, yes, we're going to talk a little bit about system trading. Trey says, are you from Utah? Yep, we're in Salt Lake City. It's a little bit sunny today. Pierre asks another question. Pierre says, is this recording available for later review? Yeah, we're recording all the sessions today. So, and how that's going to work is we'll record all of the trading methodology or all the sessions. We're going to put them up on our YouTube channel, and they will be available probably about Wednesday or Thursday next week. It takes a while to re-encode all 8 hours of the video and get them ready. So we do have okay, David asked her the question for me about Zenith. You can go up there and look at it. And Johan says, are you going to discuss technical analysis matters or just MetaStock history? Well, let's get into the technical analysis here. So one of the stories I'd like to tell, and we'll just go through this real quickly. We're going to jump out of this PowerPoint and we're going to talk a little bit about it. But if you're not familiar with these guys on the screen, this is, oh my goodness, I just drew a blank on their names. These are the turtle traders. It's Eckhart and, oh my gosh, I'm trying to, Richard and Dennis. We'll call them Richard and Dennis, or it's actually Bill Eckhart and Richard Dennis, if I'm not mistaken, and I could be, but in any case, these were famous technicians back in the 1970s. There's a methodology in MetaStock called the turtle trading experiment. And what they did is they were very, very good at futures trading. And they had a little bit of a gentleman's disagreement. The idea was, Richard Dennis said, hey, you know, this is something that we could teach anybody to do. Bill Eckhart disagreed. He said, you know, it's something that you have to teach people. So what they did is they took some ads out in the Wall Street Journal, Barron's, and the New York Times. They recruited some traders, and after about a year or so, they had the most famous, the most successful trading experiment that had ever happened. And they weren't successful, they were insanely successful. And if I remember the numbers right, which I'm about 50-50 on, they made about 148% the first year, okay? Richard said in the Wall Street Journal interview afterward that as a result of this, trading was much more teachable than I had ever imagined. In a strange way, it was almost humbling. And he also said, and this is a book cut from The Market Wizards by Jack Schwager, I always say that you could publish my trading rules in the newspaper and nobody would follow them. The key is consistency and discipline. Almost anybody can make up a list of the rules that are 80% as good as what we taught our people. What they couldn't do is give them the confidence to stick to those rules, even when things are going bad. So what we're going to talk today a lot about is what a trading system is and how you can use MetaStock to go back and evaluate different trading methodologies and find the right strategy for you. So let's go ahead, and what I'm going to start to talk about, I'm going to actually teach you a trading system today based on the MACD. Okay, the MACD, if you're not familiar with it, you will be in the next 10 or 15 minutes or so, but it's a trend and a momentum indicator. Okay, and so let's go ahead and we'll open up a chart here in MetaStock. I'm going to walk you through exactly how the MACD is calculated. It looks like and how you take signals off of it. Okay, so the MACD was created by a guy by the name of Gerald Appel, and we're going to use his rules for it. So I'm going to go ahead and clean up this chart real quick, though. Let's go ahead and get the Chuck Hughes stuff off of it. Let me go ahead and detach this from the chart. I'll go ahead and close this, and I'm going to close the Expert Advisor too for now. Okay, and so what we've got is we've got Fresh Pet Ordinary. The reason we're looking at this is it came up on our Chuck Hughes scan. Okay. The other thing that we're going to do, just real quick, is I'm going to kind of come back and look at my notes. I want to get exactly the indicator settings that they use for the MACD. I have a tendency to think of the numbers in a little bit of an incorrect way, and I want to make sure I'm giving you complete and factual information. So, okay. There's a picture of Gerald Appel, and you'll see, oh, this did not paste in very well, but that doesn't matter. You'll see that when Gerald Appel actually calculated the MACD, he used as a 0.75 period or a 0.75 EMA and a 0.15 period EMA. Those translate roughly to about 26 period exponential moving average and a 12 point. So I'm just going to write that down, and 12 EMA. Okay, I didn't want to get those numbers wrong. So let me go ahead and go back into MetaStock. Okay, and I'm just going to show you how these are calculated. Dano says, did they bet $1 on that experiment? I don't think so. I'm not sure. I'm not sure, Dano. Okay, so let's add a couple moving averages here. If you don't have MetaStock, this is what we call an indicator quick list. If we scroll down through these list of indicators, what you're going to have is a list of about 300 different indicators, okay? One of the new features that they recently added is all of your recently used indicators are going to be put at the top, so you don't have to go all the way down and find moving average. If it's something that you reuse frequently, it's just automatically going to go to the top of the list. To put this on a chart, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag it onto the chart and I'm going to drop it where I want it. So what I mean by that is I just drop it here, that's all. It's going to pop up with a properties dialog box, and I'm going to set this as a 13 period exponential moving average that's based on the close. Okay, I'm going to do that again for our, oh, I'm sorry, it was a 12 period exponential moving average. I'll change that in a second. I'm going to do that again for a 26 period exponential moving average. I'm going to make that a purple color. And since I slightly got the numbers, if you need to change anything in MetaStock, I'll do a 12 period exponential moving average. Okay. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to grab MACD, and I'm just going to show you how it's calculated. So what we're going to do here is I just drag this MACD indicator off. We're going to put it right up here. And we'll go ahead and leave it at the default settings. Again, anytime you want to change anything in MetaStock, double click on it. I'm going to make this a histogram line because I prefer a histogram. So I'll double click on it, I'll go to histogram, we'll go okay. I'm also going to make this moving average a little bit darker so you can see it when we start to talk about it, okay? For now, what we're going, and you see, very easy. If anytime you want to change something, double click on it, okay? Now, let's talk a little bit about the calculation of the MACD. So if ignore the moving average of the MACD for now, we'll talk about that in a minute. But what you'll see is right here, we've got a value of the MACD that's sitting at about 0.36. If I was to take the top moving average here and the bottom moving average here, I'm going to get just the difference between those moving averages, that's all. So if you ever wonder how moving MACD is calculated, it's just subtracting, well, this 12 exponential moving average from this 26 period moving average. And it's designed to measure trend and momentum in a chart, okay? Trend in the fact that if it's in a big, huge upward trend as it is right here, what you're gonna have is these indicators are gonna separate. And as they separate more and more, you're going to have a higher and higher MACD value. If it's kind of in a bit of a flat sideways area, your values are not going to be as pronounced, right? And if it's going down, then you're going to have a negative MACD. And the faster it's going down, the bigger you're going to have in your histogram level. Okay, it's that simple. That's all they're looking at for MACD. Okay, this blue line, as I alluded to earlier, is what Gerald calls a signal line. Okay, and you can use it as a signal. Okay, if the MACD is above its signal line, like it is right here and here and here, you could analyze the MACD and say, okay, it's in a bullish phase. If it's trading down below its signal line as it is right here and right here, then you'd say it's in a bearish phase. So you can visually identify that, but I'm going to attach what we call an expert advisor for MetaStock so that it'll apply it for you. Okay, so what we'll do here is I'll click on the expert advisor. We have Chuck Hughes selected because that's the last one we looked at. But I'm just going to come down to this Equus MACD. I'm going to attach it to the chart. And as soon as I do that, you'll see this trend ribbon right here on the chart that shows you the phase of the MACD, whether it's in a bullish or a bearish state. Okay, and we'll kind of zoom in just a little bit so you can kind of see that a little bit more clearly. And you can see right here, we went from bearish to bullish. Right here, you've got a bearish to bullish, okay? If we go from a state where we think the stock is gonna go down, to where it's going to go up, which is exactly what happened when it went from bearish to bullish. The most simple way you can use this indicator is as a crossover. So if you think that the stock is getting more bullish, you could buy it, which is why the MetaStock software plotted this as a buy signal. When it crossed down below its signal line right here, it gave you a sell signal. Here it gave you a buy signal. Here it gave you a sell signal. And you can see all of those on the chart. Okay, so typically that's the most basic way you can use the MACD is with its signal line. There's actually about 3 different ways you can look at it, and since we're talking about the MACD, I'm going to kind of define all of them to you. There was a sound outside. Okay, so what Trey says, no, I like to hunt for my indicators. I know my favorite, some of the things that they added to this last version of MetaStock, I think are the best quality of life improvements that we've had. So the second way you can use the MACD here is you can look for it to be extended in price. You can use it as an overbought, oversold indicator, okay, with a bit of a caveat there. If obviously you want some sort of a confirmation, but the idea here is if you get in a trend that's really, really extended, you probably want to kind of be a little bit more careful about it, and because there is always a bit of a reversion of the mean that might happen in a stock. Okay, and then the third way that you can look at the MACD is to look for divergence. We won't go into a lot of detail on this. The software will automatically look for that for you as well. Dr. Elder calls divergence the most powerful signal in all of technical analysis. But what you're looking for is the MACD to set a new high. Okay, so like, let me just draw it on the chart for you. Here we had a peak in MACD. Here we had another peak in MACD. You can see that that's quite a bit of a decline. The price has not dropped equally in price. And so if we drew that particular line, what you're going to see here is a bit of a upward trend on your 2 lines here and a downward trend here. That is actually a divergence. And in this case, it would be a bearish divergence. It was signal weakness in the chart, okay? And MACD divergence, Dr. Elder, who is somebody that I respect quite a bit, he wrote a book called Come Into My Trading Room. He's a very, very good technician. I'd recommend you read his book, maybe check him out a little bit, but he calls it the most powerful signal in all of technical analysis. So those are the 3 ways. Again, you can just look at the signal line. When it crosses up, you could buy here and sell here and buy here. The second way is to look for it to be extended in price, and the third is that divergence. If I open up the commentary for this indicator, it'll actually kind of give us an update of all 3 of those. Okay, so right now we've just yesterday on Fish, this fresh pet, we had a sell signal. It's dropping down a little bit. It'll tell us that crossover happened because it is trading below its signal line. It happened yesterday. Okay, since the MACD crossed its moving average, fresh pet ordinary prices decreased from 2.3% and has ranged from here to here. Right now, it's not finding an overbought, oversold range, hasn't found any divergences in the last 5 days. Okay, so it will actually keep track of that for you. And so there you go. That's a primer on the MACD. I'm reading a couple comments in here. And while I do that, I'll keep talking. So what we have very, very easily is we have a way to look at the chart, and this is going to help you learn about that indicator. And there's a lot of resources that are available in here as well. Like if I right click on this MACD indicator and I go to its help file, it's going to explain to you what I just explained to you, right? It's going to tell you, okay, the MACD, here's how you interpret it, here's parameters, here's tips, here's plotting an indicator. You can actually kind of open the expert advisor, it helps you analyze it. But the question that I got, and remember a few minutes ago, I told you that I primarily I worked in sales for the first 9 years I was here. One of the things that we would talk to a wide variety of traders. It's very, very cool, the functionality that's available in MetaStock. Like everything I'm showing you today can be customized exactly the way you want it. You can build your own systems, you can build your own scans. But we talk to a fair share of new traders. And there's a few things that I love about technical analysis. You know, all of these signals that you're seeing on these charts are generated automatically, so they're totally objective. They're not subjective. And when I think when it comes to discipline, that's very, very helpful. But as a new sales rep, when I was talking to a new trader, I made some strategic errors. It is a very, very powerful toolbox. We've been working on it since 1980. There's 300 indicators. There's 9 different charting styles. It has the ability to scan for just about anything you want. But for a new trader, a lot of people would come in and they'd say, well, I don't know 300 different indicators. How do I understand which indicators are the best for whatever instruments that I want to trade? How do I understand, do I have to learn about all 300 indicators and then go look at the buy and sell points on the chart? How do I understand exactly what would work best for me? And that was a very, very common question. And since everything is objective and not subjective, what we have in MetaStock is the ability to compare this MACD methodology to the turtle trading methodology to, you name it. There's all kinds of different approaches, and we can take a reasonable assumption, okay, how did this perform over the last 1 year or 5 years or 10 years? Is MACD the best indicator to use? Should I be learning about something else? Maybe I should combine it with a couple of indicators. And so the thing that we're going to do is we're going to go in and we're going to evaluate MACD. We're going to compare it to the other methodologies that are available in here. And we're going to answer that question. How well does MACD work on FreshPad? But we won't use FreshPad. We'll use your stocks. So give me any stocks that you're interested in. Let's go ahead and create a system tester. Scott Gass says, great example is Starbucks just gave a MACD buy signal on Friday. Well, since you said that, Scott, we're going to go ahead and throw in Starbucks to this test. AMD is a great stock for trading this year. CAT, okay. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead, here's the charting. This is where you open up a chart. We've talked a lot about scanning today. Here's the forecaster. I'm gonna go into the system tester. We're gonna basically run an evaluation. I've got enough securities. We're gonna do like 5 of them. So we don't have to take any more. Thank you for the participation. So let's go ahead and set up a system test, shall we? I'm gonna go ahead and one of the things I like about the MetaStock system tester, and a guy asked this earlier, actually, is can you do testing of a bunch of different stocks? And you absolutely can. What I've done, and I'll just show you exactly how that would work. We're not gonna test all of the optionable stocks. We're gonna do a few of them today, but you can do that if you want. In my MetaStock over the years, I've got about 242 scans. I've gone through here and selected about 54 that I know are included in MetaStock. I wanted to, because over 21 years, I've created a lot of system tests and I've tested a lot of different things over the years. I selected 54 of them because number one, I knew that they were included in MetaStock, and number two, they're not optimized. Okay, and you can do optimization in MetaStock if you want. There are some systems that come pre-optimized. The reason I don't show these, well, there's 2 reasons. I believe you can easily over-optimize a security when you're testing. And number 2, they take forever to test because you're testing all kinds of different variables and values. So I've went through and picked out 54 based on the fact that I know they're included in the software and that they don't use optimization at all. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and select those. Again, with the new version, I've just made the favorites with all 54 of those tests. I'll select them like this, and I can type in a few instruments, which is what I'm going to do up here, but I could also select my whole entire pre-filtered list right here, or all the optionable stocks, or the top 500. I'm not going to do that simply because it takes a little bit. If you throw 2,500 stocks, it'd take the rest of my half hour to test them. So I'll just select a few of the ones that you've actually kind of outlined out here. So the first one we were looking at was Starbucks, thanks to Scott Gal. AMD, which is a stock I've been kind of looking at recently anyway. Caterpillar, LQ. Okay, we'll just do 4. We could do as many as we wanted, and we could do a whole list if we wanted to as well. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and have it do both long trades and short trades. So I'm gonna have it do both. Okay, and just make sure that the test runs fairly quickly. I'm gonna have it go back 250 days. Okay, 250 days is about a year. We have all kinds of data from Reuters. You can go back 5 years or 10 years. You can test as long as you want. Well, as long as, like in the US, the stock data generally goes back to the 80s. With the futures data, it generally goes back to the 70s. So you can do whatever type of testing. You could go outline a different type of market. Like if you believe the market's getting a little bearish now, you could go and find other bearish markets and test during those timeframes. But for simplicity and for speed, we're just going to do 250 days, okay? In trade options, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to the accounts section. I'm going to have it start with $10,000 of equity, okay? And what I'm going to have it do is every time it gets a trade, I'm going to have it trade half of that equity, okay? And to show you what the options are, you could say number of units. And if it got a buy signal, it would buy 50 shares. And then every time, just regardless of if it got a short signal, it would short 50 shares. Okay, so you can test that way. You could say, okay, well, I want you to trade 5,000 bucks, regardless of if I have the money or not, and it will do that based on the transaction cost. Okay, what I'm gonna do is the percent of available equity. So what that means is it's gonna start with a hypothetical trading account of $10,000. It'll start about a year ago. And as soon as it gets a buy signal on one of my systems, it's going to take half of whatever is in that account. In this case, half of 10,000 is 5,000. It'll trade that much. Okay. If that account grows to $20,000 or $30,000 in a year, it'll be trading half of whatever it has. And broker, I'm going to have it pay. I'm going to pay $5 to get in and $5 to get out. You of course want to. Trading costs money. You want to be able to calculate that into the trading that you're doing, and this is where you put that in there. You know, just as if we're evaluating different business models or different business ideas, we want to have a clear idea of what our costs are going to be. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. I'm going to go ahead and start this as a system test, and we'll kind of take a look at some reports here. Okay. And you'll see right now it's going to run about 216 systems for me. We've got about 111 done, and you see it's very, very fast. Okay. If we went back longer, if we went back 2 years, it would have taken about twice that much time. Uh-oh. Okay, well, of course it's going to, okay, back. Something is malfunctioning here. Okay, there's usually a little bit of a chart up here, but I'm getting an error, but that's okay. I can still show you. This is the first time this has happened, so of course it's going to happen when we were doing a bit of a demo. I might actually rerun this test and just see if it runs a little bit better. So let's go ahead and we'll just start it again with SBUX.O. We'll throw in the Dow in there, AMD dot, I believe it's O, and CAT. Let's see if we can get that chart showing up. Unfortunately, yeah, it's never happened in 21 years where I didn't have a chart up there, but apparently something threw down. So we'll just run it again real quick with some new different instruments. So, okay. All right, now cross your fingers. We're still getting that. So something's going on with my software. It looks like it's still calculating all of the values, which is good. It's just not showing the graphics up here. So again, of course, it's going to happen during a demo. Something is preventing that from actually drawing up here. What you'd normally see up here is you'd see a chart. So we did about 4 system tests. And what it's going to give us is kind of the average performance of those 4 securities. Okay, you'll just have 4 bars up here. Of course, it's going to break on me. I'll see if I can fix it when we get Mary Ellen going. Yeah, but that wouldn't Mark says the LCI had errors. That is true, but that wouldn't cause the issues that we're looking at. So normally what you would get is you'd get 4 charts up here. They would be either a green value to a red value. And obviously, that's just showing you the performance. So everything else is working. It's just those charts aren't showing up for me. Okay, so we'll go without them for right now, just for the purpose of showing you the other stuff. But what I've done is it still looks like it's calculating everything properly. So I'll just show you what the results look at. We had a basket of 4 stocks. We tested 54 different systems, and our best performing system is a system that was called average directional movement. Okay, it made about 38% profit on average on those 4 stocks last year. Okay. The stock that performed best out of those 4 stocks made about $12,762. The worst profit was 150.46. We had an average trade of 2. So for those 4 stocks, it took around 2 trades each. Okay, our average trade versus our average loss. For every time we lost, we made $1.50. We lost at 80 cents. So that was pretty good. Okay. When I talk about this, what I actually talk about is finding the right strategy for you. Okay. So, for example, you'll see a lot of stocks that are very, very active, right? Right down here, we have this adaptive momentum system that made about 46 trades, right? And that 46, you know, if you look at that on with 1 year, that's between 3 and 4 year trades a month on each single stock you want to trade with. Okay, that's a little bit too active for what I'm looking at. You know, my personal situation right now is I work a lot, and then I go home and I have kids, and they take a lot, as well as anybody that has kids knows. And so for me, something that's trading 46, 47 times a year is something that I wouldn't work well for me. Whereas, you know, something that trades 2 or even 17 times a year, right here we have an average trade set of about 17 times. That's about 1 to 2 times a month, right? It's probably exactly at 1.5 times a month. Okay, so obviously everybody wants something that's profitable, but if you're in a similar life situation where you just don't want to spend that much time looking at stocks and trading stocks, then obviously a lower amount of trades is going to be better than a larger amount of trades, particularly if it's more profitable. This isn't a hard decision to make. Obviously, the directional movement system is the best based on what we're looking at now, but if we had something that traded 50 times in a year and made 50%, then we can kind of say, well, okay, we're not going to be looking at exactly that one because it's just too frequent. Okay, so the idea here on this screen is to find a system that is profitable, number one, and number two, matches with the way that we want to trade. Okay, and obviously, if we're going to learn about indicators, we don't want to learn about 300. We have no bandwidth for that, but it allows us to look at the indicators that are making sense here, and then we can focus our education not only on what indicators that work, but also the stocks that they work with. So let me go to the next screen. There'd be another graph up here, but there isn't. But this shows me how this stock performed on those 4 individual stocks. So we've got Starbucks. AMD, the system made about 127%. Starbucks made about 5%. The Dow would have lost 1.5%, and Caterpillar would have made about 22%. So you can sort these based on the gain. It'll give me an error message because this graph that shows up isn't showing up right now, which I'm sure will be an easy thing for me to fix. I'll work on it when Mary Ellen starts talking. But this is kind of going to give us an idea of kind of not only what strategies they work, but what stocks they work best on. So, and now it breaks it down by individual instruments. So AMD was the best stock with this particular methodology. It made 127%. It made 4 trades. 3 of those trades were winners, and 1 of them was a loser. Okay. It didn't do as well as on Caterpillar. It didn't do as well on Starbucks, and it would have actually lost money on Dow. Okay. So not only we're trying to find the systems that work best, we're also trying to match the personality of the system with the personality of the people that are trading it. Okay. All right, does that make sense for everybody? It is prettier with this chart up here, and it makes a little bit more sense, but I think I did an adequate job of explaining it to you. So let me go ahead and click on view right here. And we're not, Yeah, okay. Normally this would give us a full report, a full HTML report where it would show us what our drawdowns look like. It would show us, and it's just not working. So, and literally I've never had this happen before. So it would happen in a thing. So that chart was AMD though, and it was the equidistant movement. We'd want to go in and look at what the drawdowns look like. We'd want to go in and look at, and MetaStock will report all of that back to you. But the next step is then we can go in and learn about what goes into that directional movement system. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to the chart tab here. We'll open up a chart of AMD. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and close this out. I think I just need to reboot MetaStock. I made a mistake earlier. I installed I think a reboot of MetaStock will work to get this thing running, but let's go ahead and keep going. So if I wanted to learn how that directional movement system works, we know that it made some really great trades last year on AMD. What I would do is I'd go back to the expert advisor. Okay, so I'm going to go back into the expert advisor. I'm going to find that directional movement expert. I'm going to attach it to the chart. I'm going to go ahead and click on close. Now it's going to show us that the last sell we had was right here. That one was a really good opportunity. It's still short. Here we had a buy signal, but at reverse position. Here we had a sell position. We can go back in here, kind of look at how it had performed. You had another really good buy here that got out right there. You can see where all of those trades actually show up on the chart. Okay, so if I'm still pretty happy with kind of the way that this is showing up, the next thing I want to do is actually look at the rules and see exactly how this is giving us buy and sell signals. Again, I don't look at system testing as a way to skip your education, because I think if you understand why you're placing a trade, I think you're more likely to be disciplined, and that's having a good methodology is half of the battle. Sticking to that methodology, as Richard Dennis said in that quote, is half of the battle as well. So what I want to be able to do is understand why I'm making a trade. So in that case, what I'll do is I'll go back into the expert advisor. I'm going to go ahead and click on view expert commentary here, and it's going to give us a list of the directional movement indicators. So this one is using the ADX DI, minus DI, the ADX, and the ADXR. Okay, here we would have gotten this. It's going to give you all of the values today. It's going to tell us the last sell period was 11 periods ago. Okay, I can come up here, I can see the sell signal and the advice that it gives me around the directional movement indicators. They're showing a sell signal on AMD. The sell happened today. Okay, now if I want to learn more about the directional movement indicators, I'd probably want to get one of them or a couple of them on the chart. So I'm going to come down here to directional movement. We'll just put ADX on the chart right here. Let it plot. Okay, we'll go ahead and click on OK. And again, with any of these indicators, I can actually go into that help file, and now I can start to learn about these directional movement indicators, how they're calculated and how they work. So if I just click on help right here, I missed it. If I just click on the help with the directional movement, I should be able to come in here and it'll give us an overview of all of those directional movement indicators. It'll send me to the book called New Concepts in Trading Systems, put together by J. Wells Wilder. I can go and read that book. I could go to Vistapedia. I could even come in here and look at how all of the indicators are interpreted and what you're looking for in them. So again, what we want to do is we want to find a methodology that works. We want to focus our education on what works, and then we want to obviously implement stuff that works. So, okay. All right. It looks like David is answering questions, and Bobby as well. So we do have some help. The last thing that I'll show you is another one of my favorite strategies in MetaStock. So what I'm going to do, and obviously that's the ability for us to go in and scan different markets. And if we looked at AMD for the first time today and we have a sell signal, we probably don't want to take it after it's had this big run down. We probably want to find something that is showing an opportunity that's brand new today. And that's what we've been showing you with this scanning all day long, is the ability to go in and work with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go into the Power Console here. Here we've got the scanner, okay? And let's say that we really like that directional movement system or the Chuck Hughes or whatever system you want, right? What we have is the ability to go in and just say, hey, we want to run a scan. In my MetaStock, and again, all of the stuff that we were talking about today is totally customizable to what you're doing, okay? But I can come down here to the Equus directional movement. So I'll just keep scrolling down here, okay? I'm going to find Equus directional movement. Here it is. I'll go ahead and select that. And if I wanted to scan, now you can use this with anything that you want. I talked a lot about how we cover just about any data market on Earth. Okay, you can use this with whatever you want. We're going to go ahead and kind of use the directional movement expert system. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and scan my pre-filtered list. I could do the S&P 500. I could do the US optional stocks. I could do equities in Asia, Europe, North America, South America. Doesn't matter, okay? But I'm just going to use my pre-filtered list, the list that I've made of the optionable stocks that I know are above $5 and below 500,000 shares in volume every day. I'll go ahead and run this exploration, okay? And we'll go ahead and let it complete. And you see it's very, very fast. So this is the way I can go in and kind of identify the best trades. Or identify those instruments that kind of meet this criteria. And we showed this with Veracity, we showed this with Chuck Hughes. We're going to show it again with the directional movement system. So. All right, and you see it's going fairly quickly. I'm using it with local data. I am broadcasting it, which does take some CPU resources, but it did go through pretty quickly. And now instead of looking at the 2,496 stocks, I'm going to be looking at the 94.2% that had an opportunity. So that's kind of an overview of some of the tools that are in MetaStock. The idea of system testing and going and finding what works well. You know, as a trader, you want to be able to focus on the opportunities that exist for you and the opportunities that work out. System testing is such a great tool to help you figure out how well something works. I don't see any questions that weren't answered by David. So let me go ahead and just kind of talk a little bit to you about what MetaStock is priced at. And we do have our next speaker who just came in here, Mary Ellen. So, like I said, again, MetaStock for the last 25 years in a row. So think about that. That's every year since 1993. Is my math right there? Yes, every year since 1993, it's been rated #1 in the Reader's Choice Award by Stocks and Commodities magazine. I would encourage you to try it out. Okay, we talked about testing trading ideas. We talked about scanning the markets for finding opportunities. There's a forecaster in there that'll show you statistical, probable price movements. And we talked about getting real-time alerts and commentary. I'm going to mute you, Mary. I can hear you coming through. And we'll be ready for you in just a minute. So, all right. So let me kind of talk to you a little bit about kind of the price breakdown between these two versions. We have the real-time version. The real-time version gives you real time, okay? There are some exchange fees that you have to pay with your real time. And without going into a huge amount of detail, basically, if you want New York Stock Exchange to give you real-time data, they want you to pay them $3. So we charge you for that, but we basically remit the fees that NASDAQ, New York Stock Exchange, and Amex charges you for real time. So, and you do pay for those every month, and they're not part of the 3-for-1 trial. Okay, all of the exchanges with the exception of Forex have real time. So $250 will get you delayed access to everything in the world. It'll get you real-time Forex, and then you can subscribe to the exchanges that you want. And my sales guys will help you understand what the different exchanges charge to get real time. If you don't pay for something real time, you get it on a delay of $15 a month. Included with that $100 or $250 price point, you're going to get the MetaStock Zenith as well. And that's the platform that I was talking to about at the start of the day. It's the platform that Reuters has put $1 billion into designing. And I've seen reviews on it that say this is like getting Bloomberg for $9,950 a month. It is an incredible platform. And there's a reason that banks and brokerages and hedge funds subscribe to it, and they pay a lot more than you will for it. Okay. We also have a daily chart version. The difference between the daily chart and the real-time is real-time capabilities. So with the daily chart version, you'll be able to do everything I showed you in the session, but your testing will be limited to daily, weekly, monthly charts. You can scan with daily, monthly, weekly charts. And with either one of those, what we're going to do is we're going to allow you to try it out. If you buy 1 month, we'll give you 3 months total. So like with the daily chart version, if you pay $20 a month, today's November, December, January, February 3rd, you'll be running it. The best software rated by stocks and commodities readers, not their editors, not by us, best software in its price category for 25 years in a row. And you can try it until February for $20 a month. What do you got to lose, really, right? It is also part of the Trader's Toolbox. So you get all 4 of the add-ons with all of the experts that we've talked about today: Price Headley, Vince Vora, Barry Burns, Chuck Hughes. You're going to get all 4 of those add-ons, 2 years of stocks and commodities access, 3 months access to real-time, 3 months access to Zenith, and you'll get our course called Unleash the Power of MetaStock that'll help you get everything rolling and understanding all the tools and walk you step by step through everything. You also get that white glove installation support. So if you want, somebody can actually help you install everything. You know, this is normally everything bought separately would be $4,138. The real-time data is included. The exchange fees aren't. The real-time access to MetaStock is included. All of the add-ons are included, and you pay just $1,796 for it. So to take advantage of that, you can give us a call at 800-882-3040. Robert says, long-term, what's the data cost? Well, it just goes back to this screen. So it's either $59 a month if you do the daily version. For the real time, it's $250 a month. Most of our customers will do the trial and they'll convert to a purchase option, which brings down that cost. I focus on the extended trial because it's a very, very cheap way of actually getting started. So I would recommend you do the extended trial. For example, if you do the real-time trial, you could actually bring that $250 cost down $100 and get to the point where you're only paying for Zenith. And most people do that because you do a one-time license of the MetaStock. But my sales guys can talk you through that. They're a great group of guys. They do a really good job, and they'll really take care of you and kind of help make sure that you understand not only what the cost is now, what the ongoing cost options are for you. So give them a call, 800-882-3040, or you can visit them online at metastock.com/sales-chat. Okay, and Robert, thank you for the question. I see David also answered it in the chat, so thank you for that, David. So there you go. In addition, I do want to say thanks to our sponsor. You know, Stocks and Commodities has been sponsors of our event since we started this really, really cool Trader Summit 5 years ago. I mean, and I hope you're enjoying the class. How are we doing today? Are you learning anything? Go ahead and tell me. Anyway, Stocks and Commodities will do a free 2-year subscription as part of the class or part of that option. You should at least get the free issue, and it's a great magazine. Robert says it was very enjoyable.